Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Again, this is Jamal Diwan with Safa Center for Research and Education, covering the text Islamic Manners by Shaykh Abd al-Fattah Abu Ghudda rahimahullah ta'ala. In the previous video we covered the introductory material, and in this one we will go over chapter 1 and chapter 2 because chapter 1 happens to be very short. So chapter 1 is entitled The Scope of Islamic Manners. And he starts off by saying, the religion of Islam has rules of etiquette and manners covering every aspect of life. So this is very important, that from the outset, adab is there, manners are there in everything that we do. Some people will look at this and they'll say, well, that's a little bit of overkill, gets very demanding, gets very tiresome to worry about these etiquettes and manners in everything that we do. But the reality of it is that it's actually very similar to how, when we read about the life of the Prophet ﷺ, we find different types of dhikr and dua that we can make in all different types of circumstances. So someone will say, well, this is overkill. But the reality is that what that does is that it aids the person in maintaining a consistent remembrance of Allah. So if I have a manner or etiquette that I'm supposed to be thinking about, if I have a dhikr or a dua that I'm supposed to make, then that will help me to remind myself of Allah, to be in a state of conscious remembrance of God, which will have impact in all areas of our lives. So this scope it covers everything. It covers men, it covers women. The Prophet ﷺ said in a reliable hadith, "An-nisa shaqa'iq al-rijal," that women are the counterparts of men, meaning that both of them go together, both of them are the components that the society is built out of. One time some of the polytheists, they came to one of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, Salman al-Farisi, and they started to kind of mock him and make fun of him. And they told him, Salman, your Prophet has taught you everything, even the manners of going to the toilet. So this is something, sometimes when people come and they attack on certain things, they say, well, it seems like such a silly thing. He taught you everything, even the manners of going to the restroom. And Salman, he answered with full confidence. He said, yes, the Prophet ﷺ forbade us from facing the Qibla when urinating or relieving ourselves, and the Prophet asked us not to use our right hand when cleaning ourselves, and to use at least 3 stones for cleaning. So he gave the full answer. He said, actually, you're right, he did, and these are the things that he told us. So even for the small things, quote unquote, there are manners as well. These manners will actually help us to perfect our Islamic personality, and they will also bring harmony to the community and the social interactions between the believers. Manners will also refine and bring style and etiquette and beauty into the individual themselves. So the person will then, with practice and with consistency in this regard, develop a sense of taste, which will benefit them in every area of life. And it also, again, makes it so that people have similar expectations. Imam al-Qarafi, he said in his book Al-Furuq, which is actually a book on the details of Islamic law, he said, you should know that a little of good manners is better than a lot of good actions. A little of good manners is better than a lot of good actions. So basically the idea here is that someone could behave well and do a small amount of deeds, and that's very praiseworthy. Someone else might behave terribly and they do a large amount of good deeds, but those good deeds are made ugly by their bad behavior. Another one of the righteous scholars, Ruwaym, he said to his son, "O my son, make your deeds salt and your manners flour." Meaning when you're making dough and you're preparing the dough, you have a large amount of flour and you have a very small amount of salt. So he's telling him, make your deeds the salt and your manners the flour. That way the manners are actually the core and the essence of the individual. And this summarizes chapter 1. Chapter 2 is on the importance of appearance. The Prophet ﷺ, one time he was on his way back from outside of the city with some of his companions. He told them, you are on your way to meet your brothers. Put on your nice dress and fix your saddles so you appear distinct among people as a beauty mark. Allah loves neither roughness nor rough manners. So basically they were coming back into the city of Medina, and the Prophet ﷺ instructed them to beautify themselves. One example of this is maybe one goes on a journey, and rather than coming straight out of the airport and meeting their family, they stop at the restroom on the way in the terminal to kind of brush up a little bit, put some cologne on, make sure their hair is okay, or make sure their clothes is in order, and then go out and meet their family. The Prophet ﷺ, he also said that a person will not enter paradise if they have a grain of arrogance in their heart. And the companions, they asked, does this relate then to one who likes nice clothes or nice shoes. And the Prophet ﷺ said, no, Allah loves beauty. Allah is beautiful and loves beauty. Arrogance is to deny rights and look down upon people. So he defines it very particularly, to deny rights and to look down on people. And also at the same time, he turns their attention to this statement, Allah is beautiful and loves beauty. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he said part of the beauty that Allah likes includes nice clothes. So a Muslim should be known actually by neat and clean clothing, someone who, regardless of the particular style that they choose to wear, as long as it's within the bounds of the Sharia, that style should be worn in a way that is nice, neat, clean, should be ironed, should be presented in an appropriate way. Part of the importance of appearance also in Islam is the emphasis on cleanliness and washing. So the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah will forgive the sins of the past week, for he who on Friday takes a bath, cleanses himself, puts on his cologne or any cologne in the house, this is for men, then he goes out to Friday prayer and does not separate between two friends, and he prays wherever he can, and he listens to the Imam. So basically the emphasis in the beginning of this is that one of the qualities of this person is that they actually cleanse themselves before they go out to the Friday prayer. And it's also a good habit to have this kind of, maybe a bottle of cologne for the men to keep around themselves, to kind of refresh that nice scent on their body and on their clothes throughout the day. It's also from the etiquettes of Islam that when one arrives from a journey, they clean themselves up. As we mentioned this hadith before, that the Prophet ﷺ, when they were coming into town, he told them to fix their saddles and to clean their clothes and to adjust their clothes. So this is one of the etiquettes as well. Also, when arriving on a journey, one of the etiquettes is to bring a gift. And also for those who are receiving the one who's arriving on a journey, to have a gift for them. And this could be something that's very small. You know, the Prophet ﷺ said, exchange gifts, exchange love. That in the exchanging of these gifts and sharing with one another, there will be a love that is built between the people. And it doesn't, again, have to be something so big. The Muslim predecessors, they would leave their host with a present. And it could be something as symbolic as a siwak. They said sometimes it was just something like a siwak. Could be a handful of dates, could be a couple fruit in a little bag, whatever it might be. But just the act of giving the gift shows that the concern was there and will bring love between the hearts of the people. Part of this also is to dress appropriately, to be clean, elegant, not ugly or unsightly, and to not, regardless of how well you know the person, still you should dress in an appropriate way, in a nice and clean way. One of the early Muslims, Abu Aliya al-Riyahi al-Basri, he was from the Tabi'een, he was from the successors, the generation after the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. He said the Muslims wore their best when visiting each other. So what he's saying is, even if you might be my best friend, you might be my relative, but when it comes time for me to visit you and accept that invitation, then I visit and I dress in a way that is nice and beautiful. Also, one of the students of Imam Anas ibn Malik, the Sahabi, he says, when I used to visit Anas, he would call for cologne and he would run it along his cheeks. So he would be accepting the visitor, and accepting the visitor, he would then rub this cologne on his face so that he would smell in a beautiful way. In the same way, if one is visited at home, maybe expectedly or unexpectedly, they should change into clothes that is appropriate for that visit, and this will enhance the feeling of the visit, will make the people feel respected and bring more beauty to the gathering, inshallah. This ends chapter 2, and in the next one we'll cover chapter 3, entering or leaving a house. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam tasliman kathira.